in my opinion, uh, purpose of education is totally changed. Now, is it to make children remember more, to score more marks, or is it just to complete the syllabus? Or is it to prepare them to think, question, reason, create, and make wise decisions? So that is where we really need a pedagogy change in the classroom. From what to why? That is one thing I would now insist upon. The teacher of the past was often seen as the source of knowledge, and today's knowledge is everywhere. It is in the books, it is on the internet, it is on videos, it is in simulations, and now increasingly it is accessible through artificial intelligence. So let me begin with a very simple question, rather, because being a teacher, we always think about asking questions from our children. So with a small question, I will just simply say that I think, that in my opinion, uh, purpose of education is totally changed. Now, is it to make children remember more, to score more marks, or is it just to complete the syllabus? Or is it to prepare them to think, question, reason, create, and make wise decisions? Basically, what we are actually wanting our children to do is the first question, wherein we are going to then incorporate AI into the classroom. Because unless we know what exactly the AI will be doing in the classroom, that is what, because in the Indian education system, so far we have only trained the children who can only give the answers to what the teachers are talking in the class. The teachers are asking questions, and our children are answering the answers to what the question is. It, I would say it's not now. It has been for generations. Our classroom followed a fairly predictable pattern, like the teacher taught, the child listened, the teacher explained, the child memorized, the teacher asked a question, and the child reproduced the expected answer. And finally, the examination tested how accurately the child could reproduce what had been taught. This system had its strengths. It builds discipline, foundational knowledge, and also created a habit of study. But there was a danger. Sometimes we rewarded memory more than understanding. A child could get the correct answer without understanding the questions because he was memorizing, it was rote learning, and they just wrote. So that is where we really need a pedagogy change in the classroom. From what to why? That is one thing I would now insist upon. The classroom of today cannot remain a place where children simply receive information. It must become a place where children construct meaningful answers. Instead of asking, what is the answer, we must ask them, why do you think so is the question. So that's how the change has to establish in the classroom. Now, the teacher always say, define this. So instead of saying, define this, we should sometimes ask them, can you explain it in your own words? In this, I would cooperate that our this generation, as per the NEP 2020, are being blessed to have books which are actually now prepared according to the need of the hour. In today's books, we have stories while teaching them various core subjects. We have these kind of inquiry-based questions. We have some research work in the books. So what I can say is that already the pedagogy changes has stepped into the schools. The schools are now for the initial years, I would say this is the first or second year, that this kind of change have been implemented in the school, and the transformation of education with technology has already begun inside the classroom. The teacher of the past was often seen as the source of knowledge, and today's knowledge is everywhere. It is in the books, it is on the internet, it is on videos, it is in simulations, and now increasingly it is accessible through artificial intelligence. So the teacher's role is changing. The teacher is becoming less of an information provider and more of a designer of learning, facilitator of inquiry, mentor, questioner, coach, and cultivator of thinking. The teacher must create situations where students cannot simply copy an answer. I think they must have their own way of answering. I remember when I was a student, my teacher would say that you have to write those 60 words which I have taught you, and it should limit to that. And then you will be given the marks. And if you increase the number of words, your marks will be deducted. But in today's scenario, a student is full of knowledge. Their way of expressing their answers are different. So putting a full stop or putting a pause into a limitation of words, I don't think that would be a good thing for kids to face. So in that context, I would say that the children should learn to write the answer. Now, basically, actually, with AI, we are actually entering into an entirely new chapter. Artificial intelligence can write. Our children, they don't need teacher for answers. They just simply put the question and they're getting their answers. It can summarize, it can translate, it generates questions as well. Now, even I was surprised to see a small child of class three in today. I went for a today storytelling session because we were observing Library Day, and I had a couple of workshops today. So I found a child saying to me, "Ma'am, my mother, when she has to reply to Papa, she writes that question in ChatGPT, what she should reply to Papa." So, I was so surprised that the change is massive. It may be either you can say blessings, or I mean, like you can consider as a blessing in disguise, but I simply think that there is some kind of uh, an information that we have to limit to it, and there should be some kind of a rule of the use of these kind of you can say systems inside the classroom, because AI can give answers instantly to the children to learn. So somehow they're not getting that interest inside the classroom. So we should help the children to question, evaluate, empathize, imagine, and do various other things so that they are distracted from depending upon the new source of information known as AI. UNESCO has said that AI competency framework for teachers identifies human-centered thinking ethics, AI foundations, AI pedagogy, and professional learning as important areas for teachers' competency. The message is significant. Technology should strengthen human agency, not replace it.